Hello, America. Hello, rest of the world. This is episode 4 of Albert Mora for the People, and today's title is Lovism, Massacres, Violence. Today I'm going to touch on some topics. I'm going to go over my personal experiences of violence, what's really going on in the world, what's really happening. We see what's going on in the news. What's really happening? And I have good news on that one. Here's some real news. You know what's happening, because all you have to do is look around you to know what's happening. I have a message to our broadcasters. They are the ones sharing the news with us. So I have something very special in mind for the folks at MSNBC, CNN, and Fox, who in the United States dominate television news, although I think all of their viewership actually is shrinking because more and more humans are not getting their news on television anymore. But I will speak to them. I know them, and I have a very loving message for them. I have a story my mom told me when I was young that I come back to over and over again, that I have shared many times, that has served me throughout my life. And I'm going to mention a very famous author / speaker from the past, a blast from the past, but somebody who deserves to be brought up in today's context of the day after the death, the tragic death of the rightward thinking speaker, Charlie Kirk. This is a disaster for us, right? A disaster for people in his personal life. But I am here to remind us of how fantastic we are, how we have hurdled everything, how we are the greatest thing in a universe where it takes light 40 billion years to go from one edge to the other, and into infinity it shall go, and we shall have been the greatest thing, and that includes you. I love you. I am here for all of us. So here I go. Personal experiences of violence. I've mentioned in other episodes, you can see on my website, when it gets cranked up, we're working on it. I'm from East Chicago, Indiana. I also lived in Gary, Indiana, and these communities are right next door to the famous, and I'll say infamous, south side of Chicago. And I'm going to mention these unfortunate stories so that then when I move forward and talk about lovism, we who watch me won't be imagining I speak from naivete or lack of knowledge of the realities of this world. I'll even back up before my own personal experience with violence and say I've read history my whole life. I am aware of man's capacity for violence, clearly aware of it. I'm aware of early wars, start with the Egyptians and the Greeks and the Romans and go right through the Dark Ages, right through Napoleon, right through the kingdoms, right through the creation of nations, right through the American Civil War, the American Revolution, forward to World War I, World War II, Vietnam. I am aware of our nature. In fact, let's go really back to the real beginning of our nature. We evolved in nature. And how did we survive in nature? How did we become lords? How is it we lord over Earth and we have 8 billion of us? Well, one important reason is we are violent. We can be extremely violent. Ferocious though the lion may be, we are more ferocious. I've seen humans who scare me more than a lion probably could scare me. So we're of a ferocious nature. Our ferocity got us out of nature. It saved us. It saves us in many situations. So it's part of our nature, and it's not that I enjoy it. Over time, we've needed it less and less as we've become more evolved, more civilized, right? But it has always been there, and it doesn't shock me, and hopefully it won't shock you when we see what we see in the news, if we just get the real perspective. Again, teeny weeny planet in an infinite universe. We are the greatest. Yes, we have violence in our nature. Growing up in Northwest Indiana, I was around my uncles a lot. What we did, no one should do, and we did it all the time. My uncles wrestled. They boxed. They karate chopped. They elbowed. They punched you in the stomach. They pulled your hair. I got in tussles. We played football. We knocked each other to the ground. Throughout my whole youth, into my teens, we knocked each other down violently. And we got back up and we kept playing football. And I've played games where I got knocked down 50 times in a row, but I love to say, but I got up 51 times. I grew up in a community where, unfortunately, the streets of East Chicago, Indiana, usually were great. But there were times when it was violent. And one day, I was in a tussle, a terrible fight with a kid. In fact, I'll share his name, Timothy. Timothy wanted to fight my cousin. My cousin had brand new clothes on. I decided I'd play the hero, and I stepped in and said, well, he can't fight you today. No, this is absurd. We're 11 years old. All of this is absurd. So he can't fight you, but I will uphold the family's honor. I'll fight you, Timmy. And he was smaller than me, Timothy Shelton. And I grabbed Timothy, threw him to the ground. I was slamming his head on the ground. And I wasn't even that angry. I was so used to it. I threw Timmy to the ground. I'm banging his head. He gets up. I let him up. He gets up. He grabs a piece of glass and he throws it at my chest. But I don't know he's going to throw it at my chest, so I duck. I'm a baseball player. I'm going to duck. He could never hit me with a piece of glass. A green piece of glass hits me right under one of these eyes. I think it's this guy. Kept that scar for the rest of my life. Wore it with pride. Went to school with 14 stitches and a big patch the next day. Couldn't have felt cooler. Is that not terrible? Okay. And then in high school, a couple of things had happened. One day, I'm walking in the streets. 2 African-American kids come up to me. They are on bikes. I'm carrying groceries home. And one of them says, hey, man, give me what you got. And of course, I knew he's jumping me. We called it getting jumped. And I said, you want my money? Let me just put my bag down and I'll give you the change I have from groceries. I put my bag down and jumped on this guy and dragged him to the ground, and again was pounding his head on the ground, punching and elbowing this poor guy. The other guy that was with him went, ho, 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 that's enough, that's enough. And I got off the guy, and they rode off. We'll come back to that chapter in a second. One time I'm walking down the sidewalk, and a bunch of guys who are walking, including some guys I know. One guy's a superstar in our high school basketball team. He ended up going to Purdue University. Great basketball player. They're walking. I'm by myself. I just said, well, I'm not going to chicken out. I'm walking this way. They're walking this way. I'm going to walk right through them. And right when I'm about in the middle of the pack, kaboom. One of the guys lets me have it. Got me good. He was a little smaller than me, and I'll never forget I said, you got me good in front of all your friends, but one of these days I'm going to catch you alone. And then they all go after me, and I get in front of a car, and I'm right by the car mirror, and I remember a few of them swinging at me and missing and hitting their fist on the car mirror. My God, I felt bad for them. After they were about done with me, I'll never forget, the basketball player was the last guy who came at me, and then I took a swing, and somewhere in my fantasies, I got him good in the jaw. I don't know if I really did. I've been saying all these years that I did. And he swung back and missed me. And they left. One day, I'm a senior in high school. I'm walking along with Craig, the center fielder on the baseball team. I'm shortstop. And he says, hey, I want you to meet somebody. And then a guy's coming toward us, and he stops him. And he goes, hey, do you remember each other? I didn't remember this kid, but the kid remembered me. He's the kid I had knocked out on the ground some years before. Baldy McGuire was my next door neighbor. I love Baldy. I hug Baldy. African-American kid. We were in apartment buildings. We had 2 floors. They had 2 floors. We were on the bottom floor in our building, and they were on the bottom floor in their building right next door. And we played together. We played marbles. We played whatever young kids play. Army, swordman. Never fought with the guy. Loved him. Had a great time. The day after I got punched out and the guys hurt themselves on the mirror, I remembered Baldy had been one of the guys. And next day we're in the cafeteria, and I go up to him and I say, Baldy, and I'm all beat up, right? I say, Baldy, how could you do this to me? I love you. I am your friend. Do you remember me? This is Albert Mora. And he's cussed me out, and he said, let's take it outside. He did not back off. And by then, Baldy had grown into somebody who you could see resented white folks. I could feel Baldy's vehemence. And so I responded by telling him, Baldy, I would not fight you. I would not hit you. I am your brother, and I will love you forever. And I went and sat down in the cafeteria. So I've had this lovism infection from a young age, and I never held it against Baldy. It never frustrated me. I understood the historical context. I understood that at this age, Baldy probably was looking at a future. I was looking at going to college. Who knows how he felt and what sort of future he was looking at. Who knows what his life was like at home. I came from this really nice family. I knew there were so many factors. And to this day, Baldy, I love you, because we're all only human. And your ferocity and my terrible ferocity at times comes from somewhere that served us in the past and that we still see sometimes, but that is not the way it needs to be. I went to school in 7th grade in Mexico. There were fights in school. I got beaten up because I was the gringo. I was a spoiled white gringo. And so there was jealousy and resentment, and I got slapped in the face in front of all the girls in class one time. Terrible, humiliating. What did I do? I slapped the guy back. It's the vast majority of the time. We do great things. That's why we have 8 billion of us. And now, here's the part that you know. Here's the part that hopefully can settle you down. What is it you are experiencing when you evaluate how violent is the world? What are you experiencing in your home, in your neighborhood, at your grocery store, in your social events, at school? What are you seeing when you drive? If you're not watching the news, which I encourage us to watch the news so that we can know what's going on in the world. And I've got a word for newscasters coming. But what I encourage you to do is to notice that when you're sitting in a restaurant, when you're in line at McDonald's, when you are walking around in the neighborhood, when you're at a mall, when you're at a shopping center, Americans are not at war with each other. A small, tiny fraction of us are committing violent crimes, and I wish none of us would. And I'm not ignoring that. I'm not dismissing that for 1 second. But if you go to bed and wake up feeling as though the world, you're under attack, the world is falling down, it's going down in flames, remember, in World War II, 60 million people died. Imagine the rough numbers, 60 months in a row where 1 million persons per month died. So you think times are crazy now? You think this is a rough time and we won't get out of this? We will. We will surf this wave. We have surfed bigger waves. We will even confront global warming. I'm not coming out of left field with that. That is one of the greatest challenges that we face, climate change, and I'm invoking it right now because it is, to ignore it is a form, right, of violence. It is a form of neglect. It is a form of apathy toward who? Toward our descendants, toward our children and their children and their children. I'm going to go through some broadcasters. I want to name your names and address you personally, looking you straight in the eyes. At CNN, Anderson Cooper, Jake Tapper, Aaron Burnett, Abby Phillips, Scott Jennings, who's the conservative that speaks on Abby Phillips' show, Wolf Blitzer, Caitlin Collins, Laura Coates, John Berman, Casey Hunt, Pamela Brown, and plenty more. MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes, Lawrence O'Donnell, Stephanie Rule, Nicole Wallace, Katie Tour, Ali Valshi, Ari Malber, Alex Wagner, and Joe Mika Scarborough. At Fox, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson's gone, but I want to talk to Tucker. Brett Baier, Martha McCallum, Brian McKilmeade, Jesse Waters, Laura Ingram, Neil Cavuto, Shannon Bream, Gilliam Turner. Here's my message to each of those who I've named and all the others who I've not named. I've seen you all and plenty of others. And first of all, I thank you for doing your job. And I want to especially thank you for your candor. Even when it's vehement, even when it's frustrated, even when it's angry. Be staunch, be strong, be in your lovism. Every one of you who I named, please share the information you share to the other side rather than with vehemence, with caring. Laura Ingram, if you want to bring people over to your side, and you've made many points I agree with and many points I don't agree with. Feels like I agree with everybody about half the time. I suppose that makes sense, me being in the center. But Laura Ingram, bring us your smile, bring us your warmth, bring us your love. And when we don't agree with you, remember, you can persuade us so much when you remind all of us your real underlying reason for what you think and say is that you love us. Let's give credit to both sides for the great things that they've achieved and for not being perfect. Is anybody out there perfect? Am I perfect? If I were perfect, I know what I'd be doing right now. If I were perfect, this video wouldn't be about this. If I were perfect, I'd have a TV station and I would run the world and I would have everything running perfectly and I would just tell everyone what to do every single day. No human is perfect. Nobody is God. So I'm not here to judge anybody, and I'm here to remind us all not to judge each other. Let's all stand up for each other. If you really believe on the left that your prescriptions are better for the right, speak to them in a loving way and persuade them that what you're doing is better. And perform. Don't leave the border open so that the right then says, you don't care about us if you're letting people come in, some of them being criminals. Yes, maybe the right exaggerates how criminal are the immigrants, but guess where they are correct? They're correct that we don't want any criminal to come into our country, right? I know we can never stop all of them, but I agree with the sentiment that letting somebody come in and work and live in the United States should have a high a threshold. That threshold should be that somebody comes in this country, they obey the law, they're productive. Now I'm going to speak for immigrants really quickly. And for all of us, let's please get laws to help people get naturalized and legalized more easily. People who come and work so hard in the United States, including thousands of immigrants probably that I know. Soy mexicano. Conozco a muchos mexicanos, lindos trabajadores. Los amo. I know so many Mexicans and other immigrants. East Chicago, Indiana had immigrants from around the world. What they have in common? They came there to work. You could go look in the steel mill. Those people did some of the hottest, most dangerous, hardest work on planet Earth. And guess who was there? Everybody was there. Everyone loves to come and work hard. So mostly, I love you, but to the right, I say my sentiment also is with you when you think the laws have gone too easy. The courts have been too easy. But guess what? I'm going to turn it around on you for a half second. The courts have been too easy on Donald Trump too, right? By some of those same measures, but that's okay. No judgment. No judgment of the courts. No judgment of you. No judgment of Donald. But on the left, many scoldings, many inspiration for you. You are so soft-hearted that you don't sometimes implement merit as much as I wish that you did. What are most humans doing right now? Do you know what percent the population of Ukraine is of the whole world? God bless Ukraine. Let's back Ukraine up. Let's not let Russia take over an inch of Ukraine. Let's get Crimea back. But Ukraine is 0.4% of the world population. And Gaza is 1 in 3,333 humans live in Gaza. I'm not diminishing their suffering, and I could never diminish the suffering of the over 1,000 Jews that the Hamas attacked. But for Gaza, I do have to say, please reject Hamas. Please reject terrorism. And to the Jews, I say, please show your heart. Please feed the Gazans. I judge you not. Nobody. I don't judge. This is not about judging. These are my pleadings. My hope that I will inspire you, that I will zip open your superpower lovism that every one of us has. Netanyahu. Bibi, please open up your superpower. Show it to the world. Xi Jinping, show your superpower of love to the world. The leader of Korea. These gentlemen, with all respect, I don't align with a lot of what you may think or say or do. But I encourage you to listen to me and let you know that I still care about you, because I know you are in a position to unzip your lovism power. Show how great your power is. Show your confidence. Show your people why they should love you. Show the world that if they think you don't love them, they are wrong. China, become the greatest friend of Taiwan. Putin and Russia. Get out of Ukraine and help them rebuild. Become the best neighbor in history. You are one of our family, and we want all of you to join us in lovism. So now I jump to Mom's story. I call it Mom's story. I've told it many times, and this is a story that has served me. I think of this story every single day, and here's what happened. One day, I'm about 7 or 8 years old. I go in the kitchen, and I think I look in the pantry, and I don't see my favorite cereal, which maybe was Fruit Loops. I don't know what it was at the time. I don't see it, and I whine about that. I complain, and my mother catches me, and that day she was not in the mood. Mom was very loving. My earliest memories were Mom tickling me and changing my diapers. I can actually remember that. She pounds the counter, and I remember jumping because I did not expect that. She pounds it again 5 seconds later. She's looking at me. She's holding me like this by the shirt. She pounds it again. And after about 4 or 5 of those, she says, every time I slap this counter, and she looks at me, a child dies of starvation in Africa, and they do not whine and complain because they don't have the strength to whine and complain. And when Mom told me that, tears exploded, from my eyes, and we both grabbed each other and held on to each other. And then Mom puts me aside and opens up the pantry and opens up the cabinets and opens up the refrigerator and the freezer, and she says, "Is today a good day?" And I'm looking at all this food. It's falling off the shelves, right? We did the American thing. You had to push the ketchup and hope the refrigerator doors stay closed because it was so darn crowded in there. That was an amazing gift that she gave me. Norman Vincent Peale. I remember him back in the 80s. He wrote the book Power of Positive Thinking. I think that was it. But he wrote something like 40 books. And let's find one measure to tell us whether his philosophy at least worked for him. Here's one measure. He was born in 1898 and died 95 years later. I think it was 95 in 1993. I think if I did the math right. That's right. So Norman Vincent Peale, possibly because he was such a positive thinker, also lived that long. And may that be so for all of us.